It's not all that common that a single event can result in the entire royal family coming out. Maybe when Harrods has a 2-for-1 sale on decent wine, or maybe there's a will reading of a very wealthy German Grand Duke cousin, or naturally the Chelsea Flower Show. I mean, that really is a pinnacle of HRH attracting engagements. Of course, the annual Garden-a-thon is back, and the preview day managed to draw more HRHs than a free lunch at Wilton's, including King Charles and Queen Camilla, Princess Alexandra, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, and also Prince and Princess Michael of Kent. And a surprise addition to this group at the flower show was Catherine, the Princess of Wales. She showed up looking feminine as ever, looking like she came straight from the 1950s. But still, she had small children to charm, and she had a point to make about how good nature is for the little people. Small children who ask very uncomfortable questions like, what does it mean to be a real princess? One child asked about what the royal family really does, which is a pretty good question. And the princess' response was this: you have to work hard, but you know the best thing about it is meeting kitties like you. She also said they help support all the different people in the country, showcase all the amazing work being done, and look after everyone. An 11-year-old child later told reporters, I asked her what's the first thing she is going to do when she becomes queen, and she said she is going to help kids. I'm not surprised to hear that answer, but boy was it sweet. And Catherine was making a very important point here. If you are so lucky that you've got a title and you've got the keeper of the privy purse on speed dial, your job is to really highlight other people's achievements and to help people who are less fortunate, which includes almost everybody without their own title other than some billionaires. And this is a lesson that Harry should really be paying attention to. Maybe he traded life as a royal for life in California with Meghan Markle, but Catherine's message still applies to him. When Harry published his tell-all memoir Spare, there were only 3 words on the cover, and 2 of those were his royal title. And then when Meghan picked up her award for being a feminist last week, it was with her married name all over everything. How powerful would it have been, though, if Meghan had just showed up as Meghan Markle instead of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex? The point I'm trying to make is this. Obviously, Meghan and Harry still want to be known by their royal titles, and they want to be defined by how close they are to the throne. And that's a fact that may or may not have a lot to do with the sound of money ringing in the background. So as long as they are self-identifying as royal, then isn't it also true that they should be holding themselves to the same standards of service and doing good for other people? Well, except Meghan and Harry in 2023 seem a lot better at and more interested in promoting themselves or fighting their own little fights than actually setting the charity world on fire. In the last 6 months, Archewell Foundation has been busy working in the background doing some good stuff, but Harry and Meghan themselves have only showed up in photos and video on 4 occasions. That only barely beats the number of awards that Meghan and Harry have individually or together paid for in the same time frame. There, of course, was that RFK Ripple of Hope Award, Meghan's Woman of Vision Award, and this week she's going to get a Gracie Award for her podcast. The numbers don't really add up. How could we forget that infamous statement that Meghan and Harry released back in 2021, claiming that service is universal? And it's true, service is universal. But the thing about it is, you need to actually do the service and all the boring stuff that entails. It's not enough to just talk about it. When Meghan and Harry ran away from their royal positions, they could have done anything. They could go anywhere. They could do anything. They could be as loud as they wanted to be. They could help anybody they wanted to. To be fair, their goals were not helped by the pandemic, but still, they had the right to be just as creative and audacious and ambitious in their humanitarian work as they want to be. I mean, just look at all the good work that Harry's late mother Diana did. She traveled to former war zones, she walked through a landmine-filled field twice, and she very publicly went out there to hug AIDS sufferers at a time that people were really scared of people like that and people were so discriminatory towards them. But Meghan and Harry are doing nothing to fight against taboos. They are not shaking things up like Diana did. They are not teaching us about modern philanthropy. They are not letting all their potential shine. Instead, Archwell Foundation, which is Harry and Meghan's charitable foundation, seems to just release statements on their website like some kind of football team posting match updates and making about the same amount of noise in the media. If you sift through the Archwell Foundation's news section, which is a pretty boring exercise, I don't recommend it, you're going to see that so far this year, the foundation has helped make a charity health center look more beautiful. They've put out several updates about charities that Meghan and Harry have supported since they were working royals. They helped clean up a bit of the Los Angeles River. They talked about supporting organizations that were helping Turkey after the earthquake. And Meghan contributed a cake recipe to a charity cookbook. And there's not a single example in all of this that's not just a stateside version of what the royal family has been doing back in the UK. Meghan and Harry themselves have only appeared either in a video or in photos in conjunction with their charity work on 4 separate occasions over the last 6 months. There was a piece that Harry co-wrote about his trip to Africa to help with conservation, a video that he did to promote nominations for the Well Child Awards, some photos of Meghan going to visit an organization that helps pregnant women facing homelessness released on International Women's Day, and also the joint outing they did back in May when they took a photographer with them to photograph them speaking to a local youth group for Mental Health Awareness Month, which coincidentally was almost identical to what Catherine was doing back in England. And unfortunately for them, this is not the kind of charity workload that's going to be shifting any paradigms or changing the world anytime soon. Of course, Harry and Meghan could be working all hours of the day behind the scenes, but have we actually seen any proof of that? Well, no, and we heard they only do 1 hour of work per week for their charity Archwell. So, does it seem like they're actually ready to dazzle and set the humanitarian world on fire? Well, it's time to look at the facts. It is 2023, and Archwell is not some kind of new rule-breaking charity. Instead, it seems like a very basic kind of exercise, which is mostly indistinguishable from the other well-meaning celebrity-run foundations. There must be at least 1,000 of them. Since Spare was published back in January, by far and away the biggest waves that Meghan and Harry have made were not the result of them visiting some type of refugee camp in Lebanon or traveling to some island only years away from being swamped by rising sea levels, not at all. No, instead, it came when they released what appears to be an exaggerated statement about a paparazzi car chase. And here's the thing about it, they may have a lot of free time going forward, considering that we haven't heard anything about new projects for Netflix or Spotify or Penguin Random House. But if they need any suggestions, all they really need to do, I would think, is call up Harry's Aunt Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, because in the last couple of years, she has managed to visit more former war zones to talk about sexual violence and conflict than collect awards for doing the same.